what I want to do, it's great to have you here. To give you an introduction, let me go through this. So let me talk about me and a little bit of my background. I'm a keynote speaker and managing director for IWD and TH.0n. I've actually been regarded as a bit of a serial entrepreneur, and I actually don't really like that that terminology that much, really, because what is a serial entrepreneur? The actual definition describes it as somebody who bears the risk of setting up a business. And when I mean bears the risk, that's financial risk, that's a all of the highs and lows that come within that, and is willing to carry on doing so. So an entrepreneur in my mind is somebody who has to, by sure, be resilient, be very thick-skinned, and somebody who's not afraid to try. And that's got to be somebody, from my experience, things don't always work. Things will fail. And actually, and I'm sure if you've spoken to many, or if you've been part of many webinars or conferences, a lot of people tell you this anyway. It's good to fail. But even from my experience, it really is. You learn so much more. So if I sink that into why you're here with a hackathon and with your teams, even if after your ideation you realize that actually this may not be the best idea, but still present it, that's what people are looking for, your whole thought process. Sometimes it's good to eliminate things to be able to move on, and know when to walk away and when not to. That's just as invaluable. So from that, I've mentored many businesses, startups. I've actually worked as a consultant for a number of FTSE 500 businesses as well, in terms of their business transformation. And I've seen some great things happen. I've seen some absolute huge mistakes happen as well. But again, hopefully I can, at least during this presentation, go through some of the my experience, share that with you, so that you can actually take that on board, and whatever your aim is to get out of this hackathon or to move forward, hopefully that'll be some good tips for you. I love niche markets, absolutely love it. And this is one of the reasons why I set up TH.0n. I love it. I love speaking to people that I've never met before. Which is probably why I never speak to any of my family, because I'm tired of them. I'm only joking, but I do actually love speaking to new people. I love knowing or finding out things that I know nothing about. Everyone's busy in their day-to-day job, and to actually spend the time to do research and then to try and understand it is very difficult. So doing things like this on a weekend is really good. And if we're not hosting a hackathon, more often than not, I'm either participating in one, or at least I'm trying to do something, join a conference or webinar, just to expand my knowledge. And the fact that you're here actually puts you in the same bracket as well. You've got something about you that is actually willing to do something, and to learn and to grow and expand. And that really is, I think you should all give yourselves a round of applause just for that anyway. And also I want to see some people smiling, because you're going to be stuck with me for 15 minutes. So let me go into the next bit in terms of what we do at TH.0n. I know that those of you who joined this morning, I kind of went into some of this anyway, but it's always good to give a recap. And I'll try and explain why we do these. So the first thing that I would say is that we create collaborations, and whether or not that's with talent or whether that's within businesses. And throughout my journey, my career journey, the one thing I have found, the more friends you make, the better it will be in business, 100%. If you're a salesperson, get to know your accounts person, get to know your HR, get to know the person that pays your wages. That's one of the first tips anyway. if you're working in one department, really try and get to know other departments, because you never know when you need their help. And if you help other people, they will help you. So if you're always positive, if you're always kind, if you always show empathy to people, then that will come back. Karma is a beautiful thing. It can be an absolute bitch sometimes, but it's an absolute beautiful thing too. So we really want to make sure that we encourage and we create collaborations between people, because it's not always a natural thing that's in our DNA sometimes. So through our experiences and through just networking with the types of people that join us, we've all got something to offer. We've all got something, otherwise we wouldn't be here at all. So let's utilize that. That's why we've set up the networking channel. That's why we've put in Find a Job, because whether or not even if you're working for a company and you may be looking for a job, but you know that your company is looking for another skill set, tell people in this chat, this is what it is. This is a referral scheme. Yeah, so really try and help people out. We'd like to, I'd like to think that we're good people. I'd like to think that the team has got a heart and has got a conscience. So that's why we try and tackle some pressing issues within our society. So all of our hackathons have an industry-based theme, as well as hopefully a humanitarian or community-based theme, because we want to try and make sure that people can showcase their skill set, but also really make a difference. And that's what we're hoping to encourage. And we'd love you guys to kind of follow on with that vibe as well. We do cover most of the major industry sectors because they affect us all. In our day-to-day life, as human beings on this planet, there are main industry sectors that cover it. Finance, unfortunately, is one of them. Climate change, shipping, marine tech, agriculture, our food supply, our healthcare system. These are fundamentals that keep a society evolving. And these are the areas in which we cover. We also cover different things that are actually true to my heart. I am a keynote speaker at IWD. And I'll give you a little bit of a background as to why I am, because I think it's important that you know. I come from the city. I've worked 15 years in the FTSE 500 in the city. There used to be people who say to me, I can't get anywhere because I'm a woman. I can't do this because of my gender, or, and my initial thought, and I've got to be honest, was like, what are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? If you're good at your job, you will get somewhere, regardless of gender, regardless of race, whatever. And then I actually got in, I was introduced, going to different conferences. Again, this is why the knowledge really opens up your mindset. And I was really shocked that there actually is, in this day and age, there really is a gender gap across, not just in developing countries, but here in the UK, in the Western world as well. And I was genuinely shocked. Maybe I had my blinkers on, maybe I was just too focused on my own career to even think about what was going on elsewhere. And I wanted to make a difference, and that's where the IWD came in, because I'm not a feminist by any stretch of the imagination. I actually had a friend of mine last year send me a picture of an IWD banner that wasn't ironed and sent it to me and said, what are you doing a keynote speaking? You should be ironing your banner. So I can have a joke about certain things as well. However, I think it's really important that we involve men and into our quest, into our kind of plightal causes, because without changing perception, things like this will never move forward. So IWD is really key for me. We've got an IWD hackathon coming up the 5th to the 7th of March. And that is, we're actually covering business, entrepreneurship, we're covering open source education, because we believe that regardless of your background or your wealth, it doesn't mean that you can't actually educate yourself. Again, hence why hackathons to us are really key. And we're also doing a challenge on investment for women by women. We really want to encourage that funding is available. And believe it or not, even if you look at the Forbes top 50, tech top 50 or tech 30, women 30 under 30, there's people out there who will actually support you. So that's what we want to do. We want to combat key areas that are close to us. And we do a volunteer week, we do climate change. This is what the team have come up with. But we also want to create those collaborations. So let's all work together for it. In terms of work, I get super excited about innovation. I just love it. Some people get scared by it, but I really do like it. I like the unknown, and I like going down different rabbit holes. So we really want to try and encourage disruptive ideas. And for far too long, and this is where I think it's really exciting, the last 3 to 4 years, even before COVID hit us, and I think there's even more collaboration happening now. But even then, I think people are coming together to go against the grain. Big corporates are great. They can keep stability for fundamentals, keeping those wheels moving. But it's about the end users. People are coming together now. Startups are a lot more on the rise completely. And it's about those ideas and actually people on the grassroots coming up with these ideas, which is amazing. We also want to connect business leaders to these grassroots concepts because they have to evolve. They understand now that they are not going to keep that market share. They need to invest in people like you. They need to invest in these ideas. And then because in 5 years, 10 years time, the markets are going to change. People's perceptions are going to change. So they need to keep ahead of the grain. So this is why hackathons are becoming more and more important to them. And I would really suggest that you kind of bear in mind with that moving forward as well from yourself. And really it's just to empower. And that's the last thing. And I'd really like to kind of say that every member of the team at TH.0n really do want to make sure that we can share our knowledge, share our experience, and not just with a small group of people. So from our perspective, going virtual has increased our business model really by probably 3 years. These were going to be physical hackathons. And so because the shift in mindset, even within 12 months, has blown us all away, we can do these virtual hackathons. We can bring people together across the world. We can share knowledge. We can collaborate. And to me, that's just unbelievable. That's super exciting. And we'd really like to move, that's an area we want to really promote, push. So from your perspective, please, again, encourage other people to share, whether it's in your home nation, whether it's among your friends, your family. Just have open discussions, learn from each other, listen to each other. And I hate to say that because I think Joe Biden said that in his inauguration as well the other day, but he copied that statement from me. So listen to each other, really let's work together and let's make a difference to both business and our society. So as I mentioned, I usually give talks on business, startup, scale up, entrepreneurship, etc. Entrepreneurship. But what I've done is I've modified this for the actual hackathon slightly. So let's go on to how to ace a hackathon and what this can actually do for you as individuals. So bringing your skills to the table, regardless of what those skills are just as equal in every team. So don't think that you may not be a coder, you may not be a designer, but your opinion and your skill set matters. Whether or not you've been on the front line We have some people who are industry based, working at the NHS, working with the elderly. These are key people. They can tell you whether your idea is going to work. You can be the best designer. You can be, you can develop the best app, the best solution out there. But if you haven't got a target audience, it's wasted. So really listen to these people. Everyone's equal. You've got a voice, you have an opinion, it matters. Enjoy your time. That's got to be it. If you don't enjoy this hackathon, you'll never return to one. And there's sometimes, luckily, as I said, I'm pretty thick-skinned. So luckily, nothing's going to stop me from trying it again. So I hope that you're of a similar kind of mindset too. And just have fun. Yeah, it's let's see what let's untap your potential. Let's see how much you can do, how much you can achieve within the next 24, 36 hours. Because I'll guarantee you, if you actually really put yourself into this and work well with your team, you will come up with a phenomenal presentation. You'll come up with a phenomenal concept, and people will still will be interested in this. So please just have fun, enjoy yourself, and really untap that potential. Be organized. And take it from me, that's one of the key things. If I'm going to give you advice, that's the one. I remember being in one hackathon, and as the presentations are actually, as one of the presentations, as other people were presenting, I'm still there doing a PowerPoint, still trying to do the words on our PowerPoint for our presentation. Needless to say, we completely messed it up. The presentation was awful, ran out of time completely. But then I learned that for the next one. And I learned that to make sure that moving forward, it never happens again. So learn from your mistakes, but be organized. Time limit everything. If you've got deadlines, put it in before half an hour before. Bring yourself forward. I don't know how many of you set your alarm 5 minutes or set your watch 5 minutes in advance, so you're always 5 minutes early. Being on time is late and all of that jazz. So make sure that you do really organize your time. Research is key, knowledge is key, and whether or not you agree with what you find or you don't agree doesn't really matter. The fact that you've actually found that information out, that's a key thing. And also, as I said, this is a great networking opportunity. We've hired, to give you an idea, all of our staff, bar I think 3, have actually come from hackathons we've hosted. So Jigger came from our first recruitment hackathon last year in May. Karis was on the winning team from our RecruitaTH hackathon. We have Manel, which was a referral from Jigger from our hackathon. Raza, Hiba, hey, Hiba was actually an intern with me 5 years ago, and is now one of the company directors. She's seen the highs, the lows, and everything else of how the business has changed. It's been unbelievable. Elodie was one of the team participants from Marine Tech. So it's a really cool way in which you can get to know people, make friends, really explore opportunities with people. We help people throughout. Sorry, and Shanthika, how can I forget? Shanthika came from our recruitment hackathon too. Shanthika is the one who does all of our artwork. So without her, we'd absolutely be screwed. So sorry, I don't mean to miss anyone out who's here today. There's other members of the team. So we've got, so even from this, the follow-up on LinkedIn, this is why we put the networking option on there. Put your LinkedIn profile in there, or put your portfolio profile, or put your portfolio profile, put your Discord, your GitHub, anything. Collaborate, make friends. These will be with you in years to come. It's the same as if you've gone to school with somebody, or you go to university and it's an alumni. This is what hackathons do. You're physically meeting, virtually, meeting people, which is invaluable. So please make friends. Okay, So I know that some of you are missing from the messages that I had last night and this morning. I know some of you are missing either a business consultant, a mentor, or sales and marketing. So what I wanted to do is kind of briefly explain. I won't go into too much detail because I will have one-to-one chats with each of your teams, and I'll mentor you myself. And we can bring, plus we've got some people on speed dial who work in the industry who is more than happy to join in on a team for a 10-15-minute chat this afternoon. Plus we can maybe ask some of our observers. So there will be plenty of help during the hackathon. So for you guys though, just to kind of give you a bit of a guide, I wanted to go through some of the different types of business models that you should be considering for your concepts. So your business models will come up of really 4 different categories. You can either have, let's kind of go into the first one. This would be bootstrapping. Now, this is more often not where any concept, any idea actually starts from. And this is where you would be classed as, I suppose, an entrepreneur. This is where you use all of your savings up. You keep your fingers crossed. You hope everything goes well. And this is where you do bear the risk. It's bootstrapping. This is where you're self-funding or ask family, friends for help. This is also, this can be stressful. This side of it is a really difficult, startup opportunity, but it's where everyone starts from. Nobody really gets given investment straight away without actually bootstrapping first. This is also where people can get the most returns out of it, because you're the one who's put in all of the sweat and the blood and the tears. Believe me, there's plenty of tears as well. There are falls, yeah, sometimes there are falls that come through. But this is a journey. But if you stick with it, if you make sure that nothing stops you, that you genuinely believe in your concept, then it will work. You will make sure it works. From that perspective, you gain the most rewards out of it. You're the one that's done this. You're the one who gets the return of investment. This is also where it could be really beneficial for staff, employees that you bring on board. This is something that is they're classed as intrapreneurs. This is where they're part of a startup, and their blood and their sweat and their tears will pay off, because they share options, etc. They're financially rewarded if and when the company gets scaled up to one of the next levels. This is where they will see a return of investment from this. The second side I'd probably go through is equity financing. So once you've got a concept, and this is from your hackathon perspective, you need to decide whether or not you are going for equity financing, debt financing, or your startup platforms, your incubators, angel lists, accelerators. And again, I'll go through this briefly. So you can have equity financing. This is where you will have capital through shares and share options. This is mainly from family, friends, investors, and IPO. So once you've gone through your bootstrap, then you're able to actually present something. This is where you can then go to IPO for investment. Now that could be from government funding. It could be from non-profit, it can be from government, it can be from private investors, it can be from corporate investors. So when you're thinking of your concept right now for your hackathon, how unique is it? And how are you going to get it from your idea right now all the way through to getting it onto the mass market? And how big are you going to go? How wide are you going to go? How much of a reach are you going to go? And how are you going to get the funding, or how are you going to pay for the operational costs? You know, all of those types of things that come under this. How are you going to raise that money? You should think of this, and you should mention this in your presentation. You should be going down this route. So your project managers can help you with this. Any of your, if you've got additional people that have some spare time, get them to come in. You should be looking at this as an ideation, as a team, because you need to understand that collectively. The other would be debt financing, which is usually for capital and capital expenses. And this is where you would have this, sorry, something, you can go back one screen. I think you've gone forward. There you go. So this is where debt financing, and this is where you go to banks, you go to commercial institutes for loans. This is where they lend you the money, and then you have to repay that. You have something that you put down as either an asset, or you're, you know, it's the same as having a mortgage, I suppose, the equivalent of having a mortgage. That you need to have a sound business model. That you would usually have to go through bootstrapping. Most banks or financial institutes will not really consider you until you've been trading and have full books for 3 years, financial stability for 3 years. That's usually what happens. And this is why equity funding and private funding is becoming more and more common, and has been for the last 2 or 3 years. But that's not to say that, you know, that's not potentially an option for you, but that's just one angle in which you can get funding. The other is through startup platforms. And this is, as I mentioned, through grants. A lot of governments will issue innovation grants. The EU, you know, the UK's got lots and lots. Innovate UK, Department of Work, Trading, etc. Incubators and accelerators. So incubators, I don't know if you guys know the difference between incubator and an accelerator. So an incubator is where you probably sort of do like a workspace share. It's where you'll kind of, like, a couple of people will go into one site, you can kind of bounce off, you've got mentors, you've got guidance, they'll help you out on that. They're really for your first startup phase, very, very first startup phase. So after this hackathon, if anybody wants to develop their concept further amongst yourselves or present it to a company, they would probably start off at this stage as an incubator. An accelerator is where your business model is sound and that you will be able to really push it to market. They will go full throttle. They will make sure that you are 100% ready to go to market, and they'll fast track you through. Grants, again, you need to make sure that your compliance is set, whether it's ring-fenced funding, which means that you have to allocate a certain amount of that funds for a specific task. And there's certain sort of clauses that you may have to adhere to for that. But again, that's a really good way to get in that. But it can also be very time consuming, because obviously you have to fill out the paperwork, you have to make sure that you qualify, you have to wait for that money to come in. So again, in between that, you need to carry on with your bootstrapping. So the reason why I've covered those 4 areas, as I've mentioned, you are judged on your business model. So look at you. We're not looking for a full financial accounts, yeah, but a rough guide. This is how we think. This is how we think we would be looking at. Yeah, this is our kind of pricing model. This is what we think we should look at. We're not looking for a full balance sheet. But the fact that you've actually tried to explain what area and how you're going up that curve and how you go into the market will gain you points. Okay, so let's go back onto the next one in terms of what investors are looking for. So when you are presenting, and this is really, take this on board for your presentation, for sure, but also in terms of your project submissions. So those of you who missed this morning, there's 2 deadlines you've got to make sure you hit. One is at 12 o'clock. So as I mentioned earlier, set it for 11:30. The amount of times we're watching it in the background and it's 11:59, 11:58, bang, bang, all popping up. And you can see everyone stressing. For us, it's hilarious because, as I said, we've been in your position, so we remember that. But from your side, it's an absolute nightmare. So try and aim for 11:30 project submissions. But that's the key thing. This is what we are going to be looking for. Things that are shown on what do investors look for is what's on this. And again, the tech side we'll go through separately. We do have experts on that. The other time slot is at 2:30, which everybody, please show your support to every team and turn up for the presentations. The actual time slots won't be released until around about 1:45, 2 p.m. because we don't want again people to have an advantage thinking, oh, I'm last on the list, I've got a few more, I've got half an hour longer. So we're going to make sure everyone's going to be trying ready for the presentation. So let's go through what investors look for. So this is key. This is what you need to show. You know, what is the problem? Why is this the problem? What's the feasibility? How have you come up with this idea? Is it scalable? What target audience are you looking for? Has this been presented to the market previously? This is where your research comes into it. You know, how unique is your idea? Because if it's already been done, that's fine. Good ideas are usually come from an adaptation from somebody else's idea. So even if something similar is on the market, fine. You know, what makes yours better? What makes your concept better? Because there's two ways to look at it. Sometimes people think we can't go down this route because somebody else is already doing it. Well, if that was the case, Jesus, you know, we'd have only 5 companies that ever would dominate the world economy. So what you need to be looking at is, let's try and put it this way. If the idea or a similar idea already works, then brilliant. But how are you going to make yours different? How is it going to be better? Because the reason why I say that is ultimately, if you look at your consumer base, your customer base, whether it's business or whether it's B2B, business to business, or B2C, and Rachel later will say there's no B2B, no B2C, it's H to H, human to human. But for my presentation, I'm saying it's B2C and B2B. So whether or not your product or your service is aimed at the business market or the consumer market, you will have to attract customers. Where are these customers coming from? You're going to have to attract them from one of your competitors potentially. So what are you doing differently? How are you offering a better service? How is your product better? How is that going to impact their life directly? What are you going to do to get customers? What does John Lewis do to get customers from Marks and Spencer's? Yeah, anybody from the UK, hopefully you'll understand the businesses, or you know, use well, how does BMW try and get customers from Audi? Hopefully it can be branding, but hopefully you would think that it's also down because they have a unique selling point somewhere. Absolutely it's branding, but they offer slightly different things. In theory, I know cars probably isn't, well, it is a decent example, but you've got to look at, you're bringing customers from somewhere. You're not only attracting new customers that never thought of this before, but you're actually getting somebody to not pay somebody else to then pay you or to use your product. Whether it's a paid service or not is entirely up to you. Okay, so the business core is key. This is why we ask you to spend time on your ideation. Okay, you've got, every successful company has a good team. That's it. There's nothing more to say on that. Your business model needs to be sound, but don't worry if it changes next month or the next 3 months. It means you're progressing. Yeah, what I set out at the beginning of last year went completely out the window within 6 weeks when we were on lockdown. You know, in the beginning, or it was coming on to lockdown in the middle of February. It goes out the window. You have to be adaptable. But as long as you keep to your core values, your core aims, and the main thing is why. If ever you get stuck during your ideation stage, ask why 3 times of that one question, and you will come up with an answer. That's a really cool little hack that you can do. Why? So, but it's gonna save lives. Why is it gonna save lives? Because nobody wants to die. Well, why does nobody want to die? Because they want to spend time with their family. Well, why do they want to spend time with their family? Because they enjoy doing this. They enjoy going for walks. They enjoy going to the seaside. Okay, so why do they do that? Keep asking why, and you'll get down to the nuts and bolts of that key target of what you're looking for. Does that make sense? Is everyone following me on that? Always ask why. And that in your concept, in your idea, in your business model is the fundamental reason as to why you are actually setting up. This is why you are tackling that challenge. You are doing this because you want to make a difference to these people. This is how you're going to impact their lives. Okay, the other side is the pricing. Of course, every business, whether or not you're an NGO, whether you're a non-profit, has to generate an income from somewhere. Otherwise, they've got no money. So again, that's why we looked at the investment side, or the funding side. How are you going to generate this money? What's your first 3 month, 6 month, 12 month, say 3-year planning and 5-year plan? As I said, that's going to change, but at least if you've got an idea of the path and how you're going to get to that stage, that's key. Okay, and you don't need, as I said, a financial analyst to be able to help you with that. Just have a chat amongst yourselves. You've all got an opinion, so speak about it. Your project managers should really take the role of really helping with this as well and putting all of this information together. So PMs or allocated PMs, take note of this section. Okay, the next would be, especially from an investment point of view, is the future and the scalability of this. Okay, and this is where they will want to see what your plans are. What's the future? How is this going to adapt? So I had a really good conversation with somebody on LinkedIn. They were due to be a team on here. And then when they listened to our introduction last night, their concept or their idea was mainly for the construction industry, AI/ML for the construction industry. And so they messaged saying, oh, thanks very much, but we're not sure we qualify because of the thing. And I said, well, hold on. Okay, we've cross-industry knowledge, cross-industry, cross-border knowledge, in my mind, is fundamental to evolve innovation. And I don't know what you guys think, but for me, that is fundamental. So I said, okay, well, can we not, anybody who's going to want to invest is going to want to look at your future. You may nail the construction industry, you may nail your product, you may nail your application, but then what? Are you just going to give up? Are you just going to stop working? So if that takes 6 months, a year, 5 years to do, and then of course you'll do updates, you'll enhance it, etc. But is that all you're looking at? Is that just that size of a business that you're looking at? But if you're looking at the future, how can this then be modified moving forward? What other industry sectors can then adapt what you've got or what you've created to really make a difference in their industry? And again, we're not necessarily looking at a whole new business plan for another industry sector, but mention it in your presentation. Show that you've done some research, that it is scalable. Yeah, because this is what helps with business. And I know I'm talking about this as if it's a startup and as if you're sort of going through this. As I said, this is a mixture of other slides that I use as well as for the hackathon. But if you're going to go and work for somebody, if you're going to be employed or contracted at another organization, they are going to be thinking this way. So this is how you need to start looking at it from your business perspective, your business owner's perspective. You do that, you can add value. Yeah, every employee should be able to add value to their organization. So again, whether or not you work in accounts, whether or not you do design, whether you work in marketing, whatever, you know, in research, in development, doesn't matter. Everybody in any organization makes an impact of how successful that business is. So remember that, show your worth, and the way in which you can do that is by understanding it from their perspective. Okay, the last thing I'll quickly go into is the return of investment. And as I mentioned, it was either last night or this morning, return of investment doesn't necessarily mean a financial return of investment. This could be, how does this make a difference to the communities that you're trying to solve the problem for? You know, is this going to save lives? Is this going to make a difference to people? How is that then going to make a difference to the world, to the economy? So open source education, you know, that to me will make for the next generations, not just the generation that's learning something new right now, but their children and their children's children. What everybody does can have an impact of the next generation. So the problem that you're trying to solve, what's that return of investment? Yeah. Like the Khan Academy. So that's exactly it. You need to look, you need to see what is this, you know, how are you going to, what difference are you going to do? Okay, that's what I'll be looking at. So the last thing quickly, we've kind of covered it, is what you're going to be judged on for the hackathon. And this again, if you're going to do any business presentation in your day-to-day job for the hackathon today or moving forward, we've already covered most of these ideas. The technical side, obviously I'm talking from a business perspective. You will, you know, you ultimately, you need to be good at your job to be able to code it, to be able to develop it, program it, do all of your architecture, etc. But you need, the quality needs to be there. But if you work well as a team, and even if you've, look, this is a challenge, it is a mini competition. But bounce off ideas. If somebody's stuck, you don't need to give away. You don't need to give away secrets of what your team's working on. But if you're stuck on something, you've got fellow participants that work in this. Give a shout out. This is what networking's about. Don't be afraid to do that. We're all in the same position. I do that all the time. So technically bounce ideas off each other internally, within your team and externally. If you need any technical help, give us a shout out. I can get one of the mentors or the observers to come on board and maybe have a chat with you. Okay, the originality. Again, we've already covered that. What's your unique selling point, your USPs? You'll find this comes up, your USPs, unique selling points. How practical is it? How easy is it to implement this from the get-go? Okay, if your concept, and this is where you go through your business planning, if your concept, you could have an amazing solution, but if it's going to cost people £5,000 to cover your costs, then that's probably not going to be practical in the real world for people to be able to pay for that, especially not during COVID and uncertainty. It's just not going to happen. So you need to rethink parts of your business model. How easy is it for people to download? We've got an IoT for the Asian population. How feasible is it for you to educate these people? For, you know, in terms of getting your solution to them, training them up. How, you know, bear in mind, if you are working on IoT, bearing in mind the capabilities of the Asian population, and how easy is it for them to do, you know, you design, your UX is probably going to be very different. Your pitch, okay, now this is the important bit. Okay, and as I mentioned before, I've completely messed up on this many a times. I've gone away absolutely livid. At the end of the hackathon, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, everyone is going to be buzzing after it, really on a high, really go away with a great experience. I've walked away feeling like I just want to be sucked into a black hole, because we've worked so hard for 48 hours on an option, and the presentation just went tits up. It just went to the sideline. It was awful, and it's so soul destroying. So please practice your pitch. Please make sure that you go over it, you go over it, you go over it. So your pitch presentation will be a maximum, listen to this, of 3 minutes. Okay, so everyone is given a 5-minute slot. Okay, maximum 5-minute slot. After 5 minutes, the next team comes on and you are cut off. Can I just have a thumbs up from everyone so everyone understands it's 5-minute allocation? Can I please just have that? Because we have so many people who run out of time. Thank you. It is. Presentation is 3 minutes, and it's up to you whether or not you do separate your business presentation and your technical presentation, or you amalgamate them together. So you can either do a 3-minute presentation and allow a 2-minute Q&A to put that out to the floor, or you can do a 3-minute kind of presentation and allow, whichever order you do, a 2-minute technical demo. Is that sunk in with everyone? Maybe. I've got 1 or 2. Thank you. Thumbs up. Got it. Brilliant. 5 minutes. You will be cut off after 5 minutes. Even if you are in mid-sentence, you will be cut off. Please make sure it's either 3 minutes and a 2-minute Q&A, or a 3-minute with a 2-minute tech demo. Okay, utilize that time in. Yeah, 5 minutes total. That's it. Practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it. I would suggest you have no more than 5 to 6 slides per presentation. Okay, so your project submission, you can have as many slides as you like. You can insert as many examples as you like all day long, but your pitch you only have 5 minutes for. Please do not mess that up. Your project submission is different to your pitch submission. And then finally, please just give us a wow factor. Just literally, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, I love hackathons. I genuinely, I've worked in various different industry sectors for 20 years. And I've got to say, I genuinely love my job. I love it. And I love it because I hear from you. I hear this innovation. I see it. And I'm learning every time we host a hackathon, I learn something new. And to me, that just keeps me going. And that's what keeps the team going. So please give us a wow factor. Please present something. If it gets stressful, stick with it. Just stick with it. As I mentioned, this is hackathons for recruitment purposes are good practice for your technical tests, your skills testing. If you're going under pressure for interviews, you put into some companies like doing role plays, all of this type of thing. What would you do in this scenario? Well, actually, we had that situation in the hackathon that I participated in. That type of thing. You've got something to give them examples for. So please enjoy it. Stick with us. If you feel stressed out, give us a bell. We'll play something for you. We'll make you laugh. We'll keep you motivated. We'll get you going. Whatever it might be. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but we did a team chat before. Like we always have team catch-ups in the background. We work really hard. My staff recorded me dancing, trying to get them up and get the live going and all the vibes going. So we will be with you. We will support you. Have fun, wow us. And I'm so excited and super excited to see what you've got. Reach out if you need anything. And on that, I hope that's helpful. And I wish you all good luck. Have a great morning, great afternoon. Give us a shout if you need anything. And we'll see you at 2:30. Good luck. See you. Bye.